This Prime Minister hasn't got an earthly clue how to deal with it. We need to start getting tough. We need to use stop and search, regardless of the colour of the skin of anyone that gets stopped. We need tougher prison sentences for anybody carrying a knife.
Nigel Farage has never been one to shy away from a fight, and his latest clash with Keir Starmer is proof that he's still as fiery as ever. Farage, the leader of the Reform Party, didn't just criticise Starmer, he left him completely speechless, calling out Labour's hollow promises on the migrant crisis. With the country watching, Starmer's silence was deafening. The big question now is, can Starmer afford to stay quiet much longer? All of the problems surrounding this issue are intensifying, and the public's patience is wearing thin.
All of the problems. No, the far right are a reaction to fear, to discomfort, to unease that is out there shared by tens of millions of people. Let me be clear.
Nigel Farage has never been one to mince his words, and his recent condemnation of the Labour Party's approach to the migrant crisis is no exception. Farage, who has always been vocal about his stance on immigration, directed his outrage squarely at Labour, and specifically at Yvette Cooper. Cooper recently pledged that the party would deport tens of thousands of illegal migrants by the end of the year, a promise that, on the surface, sounds like a tough, no-nonsense approach. But for Farage, it's nothing more than political theatre.
The far right are a reaction to fear, to discomfort, to unease that is out there shared by tens of millions of people. Let me be clear. I don't support street violence. I don't support thuggery in any way at all. But I'm worried, not just about the events in Southport, but about societal decline that is happening in our country.
Farage's view is that these grand promises from Labour are just empty words designed to pacify the growing unrest among the British public. He's quick to point out that, despite all the tough talk, Starmer and his party will ultimately let everyone stay. According to Farage, we've heard it all before, bold declarations followed by little to no action. It's this perceived inconsistency that really gets under Farage's skin, and he's not shy about saying so. He argues that the Labour Party has a track record of making promises on immigration that they never seem to keep, and he believes that this time will be no different.
Starmer, greatest threat, this is the Telegraph, greatest threat to free speech in British history. And you have to believe that he is, because he's saying he's got a whole crew of people looking at Twitter. He's got a whole crew of people looking at the media and all the different things and making sure we say the right things, that we don't incite violence. I mean, the guy is he's bad. He's an absolutely bad.
The frustration Farage expresses isn't just his own, it's a sentiment echoed by many in his constituency of Clecton. Residents there feel increasingly ignored and abandoned by the political establishment. They see the influx of illegal migrants as a problem that's been allowed to spiral out of control, and they're skeptical that Labour's latest pledges will do anything to change that. For these voters, the promises from Yvette Cooper and the Labour leadership seem like a desperate attempt to win back trust that's already been lost. Farage has tapped into this frustration, using it as a rallying cry to strengthen his own position and that of the Reform Party.
The wake of the killings of those girls, absolutely horrific killings. That obviously, across the nation, everybody was furious. Everybody wanted answers. We still don't know what the motive was. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to come out during the trial process at some point.
The mood among the public is one of deep disillusionment. People are fed up with what they see as a lack of real action on issues that matter most to them, like controlling immigration and maintaining the character of their communities. Farage's critique of Labour isn't just about the party's policies, it taps into a deeper sense of betrayal that many feel. They're tired of politicians making promises they don't keep, and they're searching for someone who will actually follow through. Farage's message resonates because it speaks directly to these concerns, offering a voice to those who feel like they've been left out of the conversation for too long.
Seems to be so lacking himself in his own policies, perhaps in his own abilities, that during a 9-minute speech to the nation, he looked down at his notes 150 times. Every 3.8 seconds, the Prime Minister had to look down at his notes. Doesn't suggest to me.
Nigel Farage has a way of getting right to the heart of issues that matter to everyday people, and his concerns about house-building targets in places like Clecton are a prime example. Farage is deeply worried about the impact these targets, set by central government, are having on small communities. From his perspective, it's not just about building more houses, it's about what those new homes mean for the people who already live there. Farage argues that these targets are being imposed without any real consideration for the existing infrastructure. Sure, you can throw up 50 new houses here and 100 new houses there, but what about the GP surgeries? What about the roads, the schools, the parks, and everything else that makes a community more than just a collection of buildings?
It's all about change, apparently, but I can't see what change is actually going to happen. We've changed personnel, we've changed management. I'm not sure we fundamentally changed government. And Starmer himself, standing outside Number 10, he's just become the Prime Minister, he's been to see the King, seems to be so lacking himself.
Farage isn't just talking about numbers on a page, he's talking about the real, tangible effects these policies have on people's lives. In places like Clecton, where the infrastructure is already stretched thin, adding hundreds of new homes without any corresponding increase in services feels like a recipe for disaster. It's not hard to see why residents are frustrated. They look around and see their small towns being transformed, but not in a way that benefits them. Instead, it feels like their communities are being bulldozed to make room for more people, without any thought given to how all those new residents will fit into the existing fabric of the town. This sense of injustice, this feeling that they're being asked to shoulder an unfair burden, is something Farage has tapped into. He's made it clear that he believes the central government is out of touch with the realities on the ground. They're setting targets and making decisions from afar without understanding, or perhaps without caring, about what those decisions mean for the people who actually have to live with the consequences. For Farage's constituents, this isn't just a policy debate, it's about their homes, their neighbourhoods, their quality of life. And that's why so many of them have turned to him and the Reform Party. They see in Farage someone who gets it, someone who understands their concerns and is willing to stand up for them, even when it means going against the grain. Starmer's decision to remain silent in the face of Nigel Farage's relentless criticism is both puzzling and telling. In the world of politics, silence can be interpreted in many ways, and in this case, it has left many wondering about Starmer's strategy or lack thereof. Farage has been vocal, almost relentless, in his attacks on the Labour Party, particularly on their handling of the migrant crisis. He's accused Labour, and by extension Starmer, of making empty promises and failing to deliver real solutions. Farage's words have resonated with many who are frustrated by the lack of progress on immigration, and his criticism seems to have hit a nerve. So, why has Starmer chosen to stay quiet? One possible explanation is that he's trying to avoid a public confrontation with Farage, who is known for his combative style. Engaging with Farage could turn into a political minefield, potentially giving Farage more airtime and further amplifying his message. Starmer might believe that by not responding, he can avoid giving Farage the publicity he craves. However, this strategy is risky. In politics, silence can often be perceived as weakness or indecision, especially on issues as critical as immigration. The political ramifications of Starmer's silence could be significant. Within the Labour Party, there may be growing concerns that the leader's refusal to confront Farage head-on is sending the wrong message. Labour members who are already anxious about the party's direction might see this as further evidence that Starmer is not providing the strong leadership they believe is necessary to challenge the Conservatives and address pressing national issues. Moreover, among the electorate, particularly those who are concerned about immigration, Starmer's silence might be interpreted as a lack of commitment to resolving the crisis. For voters who are looking for clear and decisive action, Starmer's quiet approach could lead to disillusionment, potentially driving them to support other parties or leaders who they feel are more in tune with their concerns. This silence also raises questions about Starmer's overall strategy and his ability to connect with the electorate on key issues. Immigration is a topic that consistently ranks high on the list of voter concerns, and by not addressing Farage's criticisms, Starmer risks appearing out of touch. In a political landscape where perception is often as important as policy, this could have long-term consequences for his leadership and for Labour's prospects in future elections. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.